Welcome to the FB podcast. This is going to be a transfer rumours episode, some general Villa chit chat. Let's get to it.
Yeah, just in case you don't know, that's Matt. I'm Tristan, and we've suddenly got a load of new subscribers and start to get some viewership. So thank you all again, and make sure throughout the podcast you get in your comments down below on rumours, on players you want out, all the bits and bobs, and we'll reply to every single one because there'll probably be about four at best. So yeah, let's get cracking. I think we start on Jack Grealish, to be honest, mate, because that's the
Mm,
big news of the day.
yeah, I've
Um,
got him written down.
so yeah, I don't know so okay. First off, just simple emotional feeling. If I say to you right now, do you want him back? What's your answer? Go. Yes or no?
Fuck yeah.
Ooh, I'd go no.
Get out.
But
Get off the podcast.
that's based on the fact that I've looked into it deeper. So it's a
Excuse
changed
me,
my
this was,
emotion.
this was an emotional feeling.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's changed my emotion on it because I've looked
That's
into
why
it.
you don't do any research into anything ever. You just go off pure instinct and emotion all the time.
To be fair, no. If I were to just ignore that research and think back to maybe like 3 months ago, if you'd have asked me, I'd probably said yeah.
Yeah, I think the
Um,
sentiment for all Villa fans, the sentimentality will be, yeah, get him in. But yeah, there's some practical issues, isn't there? I mean, as far as
a
I've
lot.
seen, the rumors the rumors are, well, firstly they're from pretty crap sources, so, and it's
Yeah.
an easy rumor for people to make in it. But as far as I've seen, it's a loan, so that could mitigate any wage barrier thing because that would probably be the main concern. Do you reckon?
Uh, I'd say what he offers and having a place for him in the squad is going to be the bigger
Really?
concern.
Okay.
But you do raise another obvious concern is his wage packet of 300k a week. That's double our highest paid player. We're just not paying that. Quite
No.
simple, really. I don't see City loaning him out. Number one. Second to that, I don't see them paying any portion of his wage packet to do so. I think Guardiola can see a role for him in that squad still, especially if De Bruyne's leaving, which he's rumoured to be, but we don't know for sure. Um, and he gets a very specific, like two or three things out of Grealish: when he's fit, when he's available, when he's on form. And yeah, maybe last season he strayed away from using it a bit. He focused on more direct players, more skillful players who were going to just create chances over and over and over. But we see Guardiola change up quite a bit year to year. He likes to keep people on their toes. He doesn't like to sort of produce the same thing year in, year out. So we could see him come back into the fray a little bit and perhaps get, I think I can't remember exactly what his starts and minutes were, but they weren't high. And in terms of his goal contributions, I think it was four total,
Yeah.
maybe one assist.
Yeah.
Um, so just overall, yes, he's not featured as much for City, but I think in terms of his value to the club, his potential to come back into that side, given potential outgoings at City, and just the value that not the value, but the amount of money that still City would probably have to contribute to him while he's out on loan. They just wouldn't do it. They'd rather just keep him at the club
No.
and use him in the role that he's been used in.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with all that. Really, I mean, might as well end the Jack Grealish discussion there. To be fair, it's not going to happen, is it? Um,
Um, I mean, it's not going to happen. If
no, but
we
if we
wanted
if
to
we
go
run with the
permanent,
idea,
then maybe.
yeah,
But
I think permanent could be an option, but I just don't see it happening now. Like you say, I think he could still be a feature at City, and they've not really got enough return on his investment, and he's not got to the point where his value's dropped enough for us either. I don't know what his contract was at City. It was probably 5 years or something like that, wasn't
I imagine so. Yeah.
it? But yeah, so give it 2 3 years, and his value will have dropped. He'll be willing to take lower wages. We could get him for cheap. Then I could see it happening. But now City still want a big return on their investment. If it was a permanent transfer, he's still going to demand high wages. So yeah, practically it would be very difficult now. But I think if we could find a way of making a loan happen or something like that, Yeah, I don't know. If I was being really realistic about it, I do think there are quite a lot of issues with it. Like you say, with him fitting in the squad, because he's still very much in the prime of his career. He plays in a position where we've signed a few players, we've got our own young prospects coming through, so it's going to disrupt that. And when he was at Villa the first time, he was the main man. The whole thing was about him, and that worked for Villa. It worked for him. It got
Yeah,
kind of the best out of everyone. But he won't be able to be that player at Villa anymore, which I don't think he would expect to be. To be fair, like he'd acknowledge that we're in a very different place as a club. But I don't know whether just that kind of aura that Jack has and the connection between him and the club would maybe disrupt things a bit in terms of like his expected playing time, maybe pressure on him as a player and stuff like that. So I don't know. Yeah, being super realistic about it, I don't even know if it would work if we could get the financial thing out of the way.
yeah. There's just not the space for him in the squad if we're going to be serious about the likes of Morgan Rogers, the likes of Philogene Bidace, Illing Jr., Dobbin, Ramsey. If we're going to give these players a chance, there's
Yeah,
no way we can be serious about Grealish.
yeah, it's
And
stacked, isn't it?
like just to add to the concerns in terms like we Grealish is always really at City lauded for more his work that's kind of unseen. It's kind of the pass before the pass, or it's the progression over and over and over. And really, all he does now for City is a very, very specialist role where he receives the ball high up the pitch, he progresses the ball high up the pitch, and then does nothing with it. He's a very, I'd say, very good passer, but he doesn't create a lot. In terms of shot creating actions, he's actually okay. He does okay, but that's in a City side that dominate the opposition and keep them stuck in their own defensive third. 180th across Europe, which is not a bad number. Not a bad number at all. I think it puts them in the 80 something percentile, which on paper looks great, but I think when everything around him is so perfectly structured and set up to give him the ability to run into space, and then he still very rarely does anything with it, yes, it's partly a byproduct of his role in that City side, but mostly he's just lost that edge.
I
And
mean, I think there's an argument that he was never actually very good at that kind of thing. I mean, his best season at Villa, um, fair enough, Villa were quite a bad team when he was here. Um, what was his best goal contributions at Villa? Was it maybe 12 total?
no, his last season, where he didn't
14?
even play the entire season, he got 10 assists and 6 or 7 goals.
Yeah. So I think he's even at Villa, he was never super creative with his passing. He was never a great finisher. I think his skills were always he's more of a creative dribbler than a creative passer. He pulls players out of positions, wins fouls, creates space for other people. Um, oh no, hang on.
But I mean that the cat. But I mean that's not even really happened last year. If you look at the shot creating actions that he did have, I think about 90% of them, something like that, were from passing. And in terms of fouls and actually beating players, it was literally we're talking you count it on one hand how many
Yeah, I
created
mean that's got
from
to be a
that kind of
system thing, though,
scenario.
isn't it? Because
Um,
at Villa
uh,
it was completely different. I mean, I
well, I
haven't
mean,
got
yeah,
the
you
stats.
say that, but then even say Bernardo Silva plays a similar role to what Grealish does, but on the opposite side. But
Yeah,
he's just far better, and just
yeah.
in those moments where he does get in good positions, finds the pass, creates
So do you
something.
think
You know,
Grealish wouldn't actually be effective at Villa, even if he did come? Even if,
I think
say, there's
Unai would find a role that suits him that could contribute towards the team. But as we say, with all the other factors that concerned, we're not even getting the player that left us anymore.
mm,
He's dropped down from that level, doesn't even know how to do that anymore. He did that for a counter-attacking side as well. There's just so much that's undefined. It's such a big risk. There's such a
yeah,
gamble
yeah,
that you
yeah.
don't know what
It'd
you're
be a risk.
getting. And yeah, as we say, well, I mean, there's lots to go into that. And
I'd
yeah,
take him though. I'd take him for the sentimentality. I feel like I'd take the risk on him if it was possible, and it was looking like it was possible. I would want it to happen just for the chance that we see him come back and like absolutely tear it up in the Champions League for Villa.
I
I
think
feel
it's
like
a
I
bit of a pipe dream at this point.
it
I
is.
think he'd
It
be
is.
Coutinho version 2. I
Oh
think he
no,
would he
no,
would he would put a ankle monitor around our club's legs and keep us tied down from reaching our true potential.
you might be right to some extent. I think Coutinho 2.0 is harsh.
I mean, Coutinho played well when he first came in, riding off the emotions and the sort of hype. And then as soon as it kind of came down to him actually producing something consistently week in, week out, it just wasn't there.
No, man. This Coutinho hadn't done anything in his career for quite a while before he came to Villa. Grealish, literally the season before last, was a key player in City's title winning, treble winning side. Like it's not been that long. I think he is a different player. There'd be all this
Mm.
expectation. There's all these squad issues, money issues. But I think it's a bit unrealistic, unreasonable to say that he'd be completely naff because he had a bad season last year. I think that he's more in the prime of his career than Coutinho was. He still could get to that top level again. There's nothing
I,
to say.
I, when I say
He's
Coutinho version
changed.
2, I think you miss because when I said Unai will get something out of him. He'll find a role for him, and he'll get something out of him that will contribute to the team. When I say Coutinho version 2, I mean a player that comes in either for a lot of money or on a lot of money that quickly declines to a level that he's not worth that money and we can't sell him, and then just becomes a financial burden for the club. Even if he still contributes to a level for for the financial package that he takes up and the space in the squad that he takes up, he just wouldn't be worth it.
Jack Grealish, though.
Mm,
We
I
love that
don't.
guy.
I used to, but not
Uh,
anymore.
yeah.
All right. Well, let's leave him behind.
Move on from that
Yeah,
transfer that's absolutely not going to happen.
yeah. What? Let's go with the player you've thought of because I've picked
Um,
up the first player. So
well, I've got a few names. I feel like Felix we've covered, haven't we?
yeah, I mean we could touch on the fact that it's what 50, 60 million we're talking about.
Yeah, in terms of news
Um,
on it. Well, I've read that it's could be off the cards now.
yeah,
Um, I've read that we're only ever interested in a loan, but they're struggling to come to an agreement. I've also read in other places that it's like still on and he's still Emery's main target. So in terms of news, it's all a bit flaky, really, isn't it?
yeah. Well, I think
Uh,
yesterday Fabrizio said in a joint tweet that we've got no concrete interest in Bayer, or at least we're not negotiating for him. And on top of that, we're still pursuing Unai's dream target in João Felix. That was, I
yeah,
believe, yesterday or
yeah,
possibly the day before.
yeah. So
So
still very much on the cards.
yeah, it,
Yeah.
it's definitely not off the cards. I think we can say that.
Anyway,
What could affect it is the fact that John Duran's move to West Ham
yeah,
looks like it's
I
off.
think that. Yeah, it was kind of the coincidental timing, wasn't it? Where it looked like Duran's sale was on, and then suddenly we're after Felix, and now it's gone a bit quiet on Felix. It looks like does look like Duran's off. I've read just now that West Ham are still interested, but they apparently are after Fulkrug,
Yeah,
which would be a great signing, better signing than Duran, no doubt. And I think if they get Fulkrug, surely they don't get Duran.
yeah, you'd absolutely think so.
Yeah, because I haven't seen the number for Fulkrug. I don't know if you have, but it wouldn't be cheap, will it?
I think you get him less than 20.
Really?
If they've got Jurasi in, and
Yeah, that's true.
they've still got Muakoko, Karim Adeyemi. We can get onto him later as well, but he's still there. He can play up top. I think that you could get him for less than
Yeah,
20, and
it
he's
could
in
be
his 30s, is he not?
I actually don't know. Don't know anything about him.
I think yeah, he's late 20s, early 30s kind of range.
Yeah, late 20s for sure. But I suppose he's just had that bit of a he's had a bit of a moment in his career where he had the Champions League run with Dortmund where he played really well, scored important goals, and then he had quite a good Euros with Germany as well. Or he looked good when he was on the pitch anyway.
Yeah, but
Yeah, he's
anyway,
31. Yeah, it's not going to be an expensive one, is it?
point being is if they go for him, Duran isn't moving. There have been links to the Saudi league. And to be honest, I think Duran is such a hothead with honestly probably one of the worst agents in football that they would absolutely lap that up. They would love that. Even though he's been going on about, I want to be starting striker in Europe and playing European football, I'm so good, blah, 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 whatever the hell is wrong with him.
Mm.
Ultimately, I think he doesn't really actually have a particular goal. He's just an egomaniac, and he would take all that money.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I just don't know what goes on in that boy's head. Like, well, he doesn't really know, does he? Half the time, but it's hard to because like you say, there's all this about he wants game time, he wants to play football. Um, so I'm thinking like maybe he wouldn't go to Saudi league or wherever because he wants to play at a high level. But like you say, I feel like there's also a massive part of him that would just love the money they'd give him. I could probably see that happening, and it would mean we'd probably get good money for him as well. Because that's the worry with Duran now is that we've been really stubborn about the price, and if West Ham don't sign him, then we're potentially in a situation where we're stuck with him for another season. Which, to be honest, isn't the worst thing in the world because I feel like if he's being that much of an arse, he'll just never play, and we can just forget about him. And it's obviously not ideal financially and stuff, but it's not too much of an issue. I feel like Emery's got a grip on the club enough that it wouldn't let that be a problem. But it's just a wasted opportunity in terms of if we could have sold him to West Ham for 35, 40 mil, that's another top level player that we could sign.
Yeah, no, you're
Um,
right. You're right. I think that there is always the chance with a young guy like that that the right person says the right thing in his ear and he gets rid of his agent and goes, you know what, I'm going to humble myself. I bow down to you, Emery. I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to do what you tell me. I'm stuck here for another year. The best thing I can do now is just try and play good football and
mm,
help this team. Because even if I want to play here, if I want to play somewhere else, the best thing I could possibly do to achieve that is essentially bow down and say, look, I'm your player. I'm willing to commit. I'm willing to work hard. I'm sorry for what I've done. Sorry for what I've said. Here we go. Whether the Villa fans would accept him or not is a different story after the social media shenanigans.
yeah, it's pretty
Um,
bad, isn't it?
yeah, I mean, I think I was pretty much done with him when I saw that. But that is quite an
Yeah,
emotional reaction,
it's
to
the
be fair.
next level of dumb from him, really, isn't it? Like, there's nothing you could do that would alienate a fan base more, really, unless it was like Birmingham City. But
Yeah,
yeah, pretty severely dumb from him. But I think all would be forgiven. I mean, football fans are fickle, aren't they? I think if he came into the squad and he put out a public apology and he scored a couple bangers, which he's quite good at, I think it all would be forgotten, to be honest. But whether that's going to happen, I'm pretty skeptical because he does seem just such a madman. Like,
yeah, and Archer's looking good in pre-season as well. So we've got that homegrown, like
yeah,
club-grown talent there that can play a couple different roles, can sit alongside Ollie Watkins, is clearly a great two-footed finisher in tight areas, which could actually suit us quite well. I think a lot of people will probably questioning whether Archer's going to be the level that we require. I think when he went to Sheffield United, we were all convinced of that, especially for the sort of kind of stage that we were at in that transfer window, where we just got Conference League and we weren't sure. Okay, how's this next season going to go? We need a bit more depth, etc., etc. We need players who can fit this Unai system a bit better. I think a lot of people were convinced we should have kept Archer, including me and you. I'm pretty sure I remember. And then obviously he went to Sheffield United. I think it was 4 goals across the season. He was never going to look good in that side, let's be honest. So coming back, there's a lot of questions to be asked, and he's answering them pretty well in pre-season at the moment. I don't know. I haven't seen much of him on the training pitch. The
yeah,
training videos are pretty limited, of course, but he certainly looks like he's sharp. He certainly looks like he understands the system, and he certainly looks like he can finish, which is the most important aspect.
he did last pre-season though, didn't he? That's the thing.
Mm.
I hope more than anything that we keep him and that he can play a role in the squad. It's not really that I even doubt his ability. It's just that I doubt Emery's faith in him. Is what I doubt, to be honest.
That's fair enough. And then there is a quick buck to be made on him to be, potentially. Like say
Yeah,
you can get 20 million for him again, which I doubt you can, but maybe you can. That's only £5 million less than max buyer costs anyway. So if you're comparing those two talents, age profile, physical profile, overall skill set, potential, top line potential, just based off seasons had so far in top sides across Europe, for £5 million more, you do it. Of course you
Yeah,
do.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It'll be interesting. We're just gonna have to. That's a wait and
Well, I mean,
again.
while we're on the topic of a striker, let's touch on Jean-Philippe Mateta as well, because that's been another big one
Yeah, I forgot about that one. I did
that
read
has
it.
popped up.
I bet you're
Um,
right.
what's the cat's name?
Molly.
Molly. All right. Someone
She's
please insult Molly in the comments.
gone and lay down on the floor now, so it's all right.
All right.
Don't insult
Fair.
Molly in the comments. She's
It's
lovely.
ruining your podcast. Um,
Yeah. I did read Mateta. I'd be well down for that.
I'm split on it. I'm split on it
Yeah, to be honest, I'm
because
being too emotional again. Like I didn't think about that at all. I like watching him play because he's a big guy. He's silky. He's good. I didn't think about anything else. Yeah, why are you skeptical? Price?
maybe not so much. So look, let's say what he's good at. He's great in the air. We know that. He's incredibly physical, incredibly strong. Maybe not the most rapid, but he's good in tight areas. He can set up his teammates. He's decent at taking on his man and getting a shot off. But that's really only 6 months of his last 6 years that he's looked good. The last six, he hasn't had more than 20 starts or got double figures in an entire campaign for 6 years. Granted, he's
Yeah,
had limited game time, very limited game time for 2 or 3 of those seasons. But if we're going to go and sign this guy, is he the last year of his contract? I know he's not agreed a new one, but I don't know if he's in the last year
here
of his contract or
expires
not.
2026.
Yeah, so okay, he still pretty much holds his full value with 2 years left on his contract. So you're expecting at least 30 million, maybe best 25, right?
Yeah,
And this is a
Palace
27-year-old
club that
guy.
like to get the value
Yeah, this is
from
a
the.
27-year-old guy in his prime, like the most prime age you can get pretty much for a striker. And he's just had probably the joint best season of his career, right? And so we're expecting to bring this guy in, probably on 100 plus K a week, and he's just happy to play second fiddle to Ollie Watkins because they're not really going to play up top together. Let's be honest. They want to
No.
occupy similar areas. They want to do similar things, so they're not going to play together most likely. Especially not at the expense of someone like Leon Bailey, for example. It's just not
No.
going to happen. So in terms of like what we'd have to pay to get the player if we were going to start him every week, definitely go out and get him. Is he Champions League level? Probably not. But it's the fact that we're signing a backup striker. I just see not obviously the same situation as Duran, but it'll be along the same lines of this guy is fed up of playing backup to Ollie Watkins because Ollie Watkins doesn't miss games. Ollie Watkins loves the club. Ollie Watkins is exactly what Emery wants from a striker. He does everything and he does it to a very high level. And it's just very hard to displace him from that position, even for a couple of games.
Yeah, yeah. I think I agree. Really, I think I like the type of player he is, and I think he'd be a really good backup striker. Like if he was 21 and he'd just had a decent season in the Bundesliga, like he did when he was at Mainz. It's like he had a couple. He had one good season at Mainz when he was
When he
really
was
young.
21, to be fair.
Yeah.
So,
Um, and so he was a bit cheaper. He didn't have the high profile. We were signing a backup striker, Ollie Watkins. It would kind of be ideal almost.
yeah,
Maybe sort of slight differences in player profile, but like he seems to me, except a lack of pace, he's got kind of pretty much everything that our system requires from a striker. Um, but yeah, it's just the fact that he's coming off the best season of his career, and he's going to cost a fair bit of money for a player who isn't going to play that many games. Um, so that's the sort of the crux of it, really. That's the difficulty.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, if we can get it done, and he's happy to play second fiddle and get say 10 to 15 starts, probably mostly in league and domestic cups. If he's happy to do that for a player that overperforms his XG numbers the way he does, and can also bring other players into play and is enjoyable to watch like he is, we'd absolutely do it. It's just a case of, is he going to be happy doing that? What's the financial package going to look like? And ultimately, will Palace even let him go?
Yeah, I mean, you need more to go off, don't you? Really, like if there was a number involved and what have you, you could evaluate it better. But yeah, if like you say, yeah, if he was happy with the role, I mean, I feel like, do you think he would be? I think he kind of would be if he was guaranteed, like you say, 10, 15 starts, substitute appearances, Champions League football, challenge him for top six. I wouldn't. I don't think he'd outright reject it. He might want reassurances about game time, things like that. But I think at his point in his career, like I could see him wanting the taste of the top level or wanting a career move that's kind of stepping up the ladder a little bit. But it's whether we should pay 30, 35 million for that player. I think there's probably much more astute signings we could make financially in terms of a
Yeah.
backup striker to Ollie Watkins. Like I'd
And
rather we went.
that's if he's 30, 35 mil as well. Like he could be
Yeah,
more.
yeah. I mean, yeah, the season he's just had, and Palace like to get value out of their star players. They could demand quite a lot of money, couldn't they? Really, and
And
it
I
would be
think he's
fair
got
enough.
better options. I think he's got clear better options. I mean, even if Dortmund are selling Fulkrug, there's probably a space for him in that squad. You know,
Yeah,
if, for example, Chelsea want to go out and get another striker, Mateta could be pretty bang on for what they want. They want a guy in his prime who's ready to come in, start, score goals, and be that head honcho, so to speak. You know, with Jackson as backup, who can play in and around him, can play off the left, can play in a deeper 10 slot. I think that would suit him. But,
yeah,
Fulham even, potentially.
yeah,
If they've got a few strikers on the books that aren't really living up to the bill. Of course, Maniz had a good period last year as well. There's definitely a space for him in other squads in the Premier League if that's what he wanted, or in big clubs around Europe. I'm sure, for example, Roma don't seem to be too into Tammy Abraham right now. Perhaps he could go there.
yeah, yeah.
There's a lot of options for him.
Yeah, there's
So
a lot of unknowns with it. I think if the price was right for us, I would be very happy with it. Like, if it was announced tomorrow we'd signed Mateta, I feel like people would be excited because we do
yeah,
kind of need someone in that position, and he's just had a really good season. He's in the prime of his career. It's kind of everything you want in a backup striker. I think people would be happy with it. It's just whether it's feasible in terms of uh, money and stuff. Really, there's probably more astute signings we could make, but I think ultimately it would actually be a good signing.
yeah, absolutely. So overall, we'll rate it. What do you rate it? Eight,
What's the
7
system? Out of 10?
out of 10. Yeah, just as a
I think
move.
I think I think 7. But if the fee was like 25 mil, that'd be like an 8 or a 9 backup striker signing, I reckon. But
Yeah,
with the
fair.
expectation of how much it would cost, maybe a 7. Yeah,
Yeah, fair enough. Um, right. Let's should we talk about the striker position in a more general sense because we've left the number 9 shirt available, right? We're clearly trying to offload Duran. We've not given it to Archer. There's no real commitment to Archer yet because remember he is the only current striker in the squad, so of course he's going to play during pre-season.
true. Yeah.
So, do you feel there's a concrete sort of idea that we're going to sign a striker this window?
Um, yeah, yeah, basically, in a nutshell. I think we're expecting or hoping to sell Duran. That leaves a pretty obvious need for a player there. Obviously, you've got Archer, but I think you kind of want 3 players there, or you want like a third option who's flexible at least. Yeah, I think we would have gone into the window expecting to sign a striker. I think this is kind of why Felix makes sense, even though there's a lot of doubts about that signing. I think Felix can play there, and he's flexible enough that if there was an injury, like he can play off the striker or actually in the striker position. So Felix kind of makes sense because if we kept Archer, Watkins, Felix as a backup to the striker position, but also play like second striker probably. Yeah, that's why Felix makes a lot of sense. I think if Felix is not happening, we will sign someone.
Yeah, it's tricky. Tricky. There was still Rafinha links. I don't know. I
Yeah,
could see him
I read
playing
something
brilliantly
mad
in
where it's
that
like we're going to
false
sign
nine
three
role.
players from Barcelona.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, Rafinha would be good. Like, I don't think I could see Rafinha happening and Felix because I think then it would get
No,
quite
no, no.
messy.
That would be if we didn't sign Felix. Or another player, I'd like to suggest someone actually. We haven't been linked to him, but it would be very interesting considering his performance in the Euros at least. Is Memphis Depay. He's currently a free agent. So that's a
I
guy
like.
who's kind of made that false nine position his own in any club he's been at for the most part, where since he's taken that role on. Mostly at Atletico Madrid, let's be honest, but he's definitely the right profile to fit in there. He's someone who likes to be in central areas, can drift out wide, is really, really good with the ball at his feet, very quick feet, great strike. I don't know about his actual performance numbers, I'm going to be honest with you. So that might be an
Um,
issue, but what is he, 32?
he's only 30.
Only 30?
He's 30. Yeah, he has kind of made that role his own. He definitely suit the profile. He's not played a lot of games the last few seasons. He's been he had a good season at Barcelona, 2021. Then he had a nothing season at Barcelona, barely played. Then he barely played his first season at Atletico Madrid, but he did have a few goals that potentially, I don't know what the situation was, whether it was injuries or whatever. And then last season at Atletico Madrid, he played a fair bit, didn't start that many games, but he started 9 games and scored 5 goals. So
Yeah.
his minutes to goals ratio is still quite good there. I think that would be a good signing on a free. I think his wages would be high, might be an issue. But if it was
Mm.
a
He's got
1 or 2
limited
year
options. He's being linked to like AEK Athens right now. So,
seriously, I mean, I
yeah,
think he's still better than that. I think,
yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
he was
Well,
good at
that's
the
where we would
Euros,
come in, right? We'd
been good
offer
at
him that
Madrid.
saving grace of like, no, don't worry, you don't have to go to Greece. You don't have to go
Come
to
to
Ukraine
Birmingham, he
or
said.
to Russia or whatever it is, to Saudi. You
Yeah.
can come to Birmingham.
No, yeah,
You can
he's
play
still
Champions
above
League
that level,
football. You know?
definitely. I think he'd do a job at that level. I mean, you know, albeit he's not played that much, but he's been at Barcelona, Atletico Madrid most recently, getting a few goals here and there, playing a backup role. Yeah, he's still kind of at that level. You wouldn't want to rely on him too much, I don't think, because I mean, even at United, uh, his main thing was his unreliability. He's like he'd be on the pitch and you'd be like, wow, he's talented, but then he'd kind of not really do anything. He was just really inconsistent. Never really happened for him. He's probably still got that. It's probably just a factor of his game. But I mean, then again, he's had good seasons in France. He scored 20 odd goals. But yeah, you wouldn't want to rely on him too much. But on a free, short contract, back up to Ollie Watkins, flexible kind of player, could play in a couple of positions. Yeah, I like that shout. He's got the prestige about him as well. You
Yeah,
know, experience going into Champions League could be valuable.
100%.
Yeah, I like it.
And then I think we'll touch on one last player in that sort of striker, sort of false nine position because we did pretty much do half an episode on it last week where we sort of suggested quite a few players including Brahan Gruder or whatever his name is.
Mm.
So this was actually a player we're linked to as well, so it makes it a little bit more interesting. Is Karim Adeyemi. Now, in terms of his numbers, last year really didn't get the game time you would have wanted. I think it was 10 starts, 4 or 5 goal involvements. His real strengths are his ability in possession and his defensive work rate, his pressing abilities.
Why is it his aerial numbers so good? He's tiny.
Well, he's I think well, isn't he like 5'10", 5'11"? But he's
Say
he's
5'11".
incredibly athletic.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I think he's you always get these lists and they're like the fastest player here, there, whatever. I think he was the fastest player in the Bundesliga last year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, well, all I know about him is watching the Champions League last season with Dortmund, is that he was absolutely rapid. He looked really dangerous when I saw this is like a sample size of about 3 games,
Yeah,
bear in mind. But he looked dangerous. He looked kind of raw. He was a bit one of those players where he'd get the ball, run with it, not quite not know what to do with it all the time. But yeah, he's got physicality. He's really powerful, really, really fast. He looks really good at Dortmund. Um,
Well, he's a freak athlete. He's two-footed. He's flexible, versatile, can play a multitude of positions, including up top. As you say, with that aerial ability as well, that provides even more flexibility in where and how we can use him. If you look at his numbers, I mean, top line stats like his actual output, season before last was actually pretty decent. 20 starts, 11 goal involvements, 6 goals, 5 assists. So he really was productive, and I believe that was playing off the wing that season as well. So there's definitely talent there. So far, it's mostly potential still, but it's the kind of player you could see us taking a gamble on that's got a similar profile, perhaps to Moussa Diaby, but with a couple of other strengths that suit the
yeah,
Premier League a little better, where Unai just looks at it and goes, for the price, which I believe is around 35 million euros, it's more than worth doing.
yeah. I was going to ask about the price. So 35 million euros. I think that's a good deal for the player that he is. I just don't know whether it's quite what we need a striker position player, because I think if we signed him for 30 mil, and Watkins did get injured, we then have Archer and Adiemi, who are two players who I don't think we'd feel super confident them being in the centre forward position. They're both still a bit raw. If Adiemi was our like statement backup striker signing, I don't know if that's reliable enough. I feel like from that position, I want a player you can kind of rely on, who can hold their own up top. And I don't know if Adiemi would be that. I think it would be a good signing in a season where, like last season when we signed Diaby, when it's like we want attacking players, we want potential, we want players who can play in a couple of different positions. We just want to add quality to the attack. Then I'd be all for it. But I think from backup striker, I kind of want something more reliable. So that would be my qualm with Adiemi signing, if that meant we didn't sign another player in that position. But then at the same time, I like the look of Max Bayer, and I'd be keen for that to happen. He's also not a reliable striker signing. I suppose he's a little bit cheaper. Um, yeah, I don't know. Adiemi, I like him as a player a lot, but I just don't know whether he's a bit too raw for what we need right now. That would be
You
my
could be right,
concern.
could be right. But as I say, Unai is pretty much the king of cooking raw talent. So let's. I
Yeah,
like that
true.
phrase, cooking raw talent. That's good. Let him cook. So yeah, right. Let's leave the strikers there because it's all too exciting to talk about strikers and forward players over and over again. But we have had some other links,
We should talk
and
about a stinky one.
go on then.
Do you know what I'm going to say?
KP.
Yeah, man. KP.
He's like KP
Yeah.
sauce.
How do you feel about KP?
Uh, 6 to 12 month loan with ideally an obligation not to buy. Um, would be
So if there's
okay for
absolutely no
depth.
risk associated to the signing whatsoever, then you might take him.
Yeah, and that's about it. I mean, you see the season he went into West Ham having spent what 2 years getting no game time at City
Yeah.
and didn't play that much. When he did play, he made West Ham noticeably worse, even though their
Yeah.
system
Single-handedly lost
directly
the
suited
game.
him as much as anyone on that field. How I mean, Unai, as I say, can cook, but this is a stretch. This is a
Yeah.
real stretch. This is a guy who's not played football really in 3 or 4 years. Not
Yeah, he's
well.
28 as well. I had no idea he was that old.
Yeah, but yeah, so 3 or 4 years he's not played well. He can come in and do a job as a squad player. Maybe some of those kind of, as we sort of said from Mateta, lower end of the Premier League, maybe cup competitions, domestic cups. Possibly he could just be a body in there, but I really don't see him coming in and really offering
I
something
mean,
to this squad.
I think if we so Dendoncker is currently on the US tour, right? I
Yeah,
think if we moved Dendoncker on and got Phillips in on like a really cheap deal, or like you say, a loan deal, I feel like I would prefer Phillips to Dendoncker as a body option, like backup to the backup kind of player. I feel like that could actually make sense.
not for a fee. Not for a fee. And City
Yeah,
don't sell this guy for less than 20 million. I
I think-
no, just no, absolutely not. Just and we said it was a stinker before we even said his name. Just
I mean,
no,
it is. Yeah,
no.
it is a
Just,
stinker. Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think if
I
it
can
was,
understand what he's thinking if he can get him on a 6-month loan, maybe, or a 12-month loan, and understand the thought behind it, because he was once a good player and performed in a European competition, but it's just been so long. I don't see the value in it.
yeah, yeah, I agree. I think loan to be a body, and we moved Dendoncker on. That'd be all right. If it was 5 million, I might be all right with it.
I think we could spend that 5 million better. Get
Yeah,
some backup goalkeeper out of Belgium, and you're probably spending that 5 million better. Honestly,
that's harsh.
no, it's not. That's probably
Yeah,
kind.
yeah, it is. It is a stinker, but it's always difficult with players who did look so good at one time because he's got really good technique. That's what he was known for at Leeds is his passing, um, and not necessarily his dribbling, but like his ability to pick up the ball in deep areas and play a long pass, keep possession. That's what he was known for at Leeds, and he was actually very good at it. There was a reason there was a bit of a buzz around him when he was at Leeds, and then he
Mm.
had a really good Euros tournament with England. Yeah, there's a reason why there was all that buzz around him because I think he's got talent. It's just like you say, it's been so long, but it is difficult with players like that because Unai can knows how to cook raw talent. Is that your new fucking
Yeah,
catchphrase?
but he's not raw talent. He's rotten
Overcooked.
talent. He's
Yeah.
fucking. He's gone. He's done.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Right.
he'll still have the technique in there. That's what I mean. Like,
No, but
if it was really cheap and we needed a body to play in like the first few rounds of the League Cup instead of Dendoncker, I think he'd be better at that role than Dendoncker would be. And I think
yeah, but you
maybe like
know, we've already got two players who can play that role,
yeah, we have,
who are
yeah,
better than
yeah.
him,
That's kind of
and
why it's
that's
a
not
stinker as
including
well. It
Kamara.
makes no sense in terms of the position. Like, we just don't need
Enzo can play
someone
that role
better
if he
than
needs to.
Calvin. Yeah, well, that's what we thought Enzo was going to be, right? Enzo's the option at defensive mid. We knew we needed one.
Yeah, and then Onana's
Well,
come in. He's also that option,
yeah, yeah,
probably
yeah.
better
You're right.
in
No,
some
it's
ways.
a stinker.
You know,
It is.
and then you think about who goes alongside either one of those players when Kamara comes back as well. You've also got Tielemans that can sit alongside one of those players, right? You've also got Ross Barkley who's going to sit alongside one of those players, right? It's just totally not worth it. And considering we've been linked to both, well, I'll get onto another player, but Sergi Roberto was heavily linked. Apparently, we were
Yeah.
close, potentially still close to signing him on. That would be sensational because he almost exactly can fill the Dougie role. Like he almost matches up perfectly to what Dougie was great at, right? And that was great passer, really, really good passing numbers, very decent at progressing the ball, carrying the ball up the field as well. When he gets in attacking areas, he produces, right? Being at Barcelona for that long, being club captain, right? Maybe not on-field captain every week, but club captain during periods which they've won Champions Leagues. It speaks a lot about his character to stay there that long, his loyalty, his talent level, his tactical flexibility and awareness. I mean, he's probably played. I don't know if he's played under Guardiola. Was he there then? He's played under a
A
number
little
of high-level managers consistently throughout the years. I mean, he played in that 6-1 win over uh, Barcelona, for example, when they got that
bit.
incredible comeback. He's clutch. There's so much that's good about this guy, and if we were to get him on a free for 2 years, he could play right back. He could play midfield roles. He could play potentially even that McGinn right-sided attacking midfield role. He's got so much versatility, so much experience. Unai would absolutely love him. And if you were going to pick between him and a loan for Calvin Phillips, it's a no-brainer.
KP all day, mate. He's got a good long pass.
It's just, oh, and Roberto hasn't.
No, yeah, you're right. Yeah, Calvin Phillips stinks, and Sergi Roberto is good at football. So I agree with you. It's mad how
Yeah.
many games Sergi Roberto's played. He's kind of one of those players who I've always felt like was on the fringes at Barcelona, but like if you look at 2015 to 2020, he was basically a starting player constantly.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
he's that good. And he's
yeah,
just under the radar because of the kind of role he played.
yeah. Yeah, I think you're on something there. I think we should do that instead of Calvin Phillips. You might be
He
right
would
there.
offer great control as well, like just in terms of the ability to understand where to be, how to move in order to keep possession, take the tempo out of the game, put tempo back into the game, whatever you want. He could probably do that for you.
Yeah, he's got like the attributes and the profile as a player that is perfect, like you say, quite similar to Douglas Luiz. But yeah, he's got that. He'll have that intelligence, like you say, from playing under so many good managers and such complex systems and stuff. Would be super valuable because we've got quite an inexperienced midfield, to be fair, which is obviously. I mean, I'm not a football coach, but people say that's how you control a game is the midfield. We have got quite a lot of young players in there and who maybe haven't developed that kind of footballing intelligence kind of thing. Um,
I wouldn't say that at all. I don't know. McGinn, Tielemans, Ross Barkley.
well,
No.
Barkley, yeah, but Barkley, we haven't seen Barkley play, and he's not going to start. But I mean, Kamara and Douglas Luiz, I don't think. I mean, I wouldn't call
Kamara
them
at this
unintelligent
point, maybe.
players, but I don't know whether they have that like high level experience of managing situations, managing games, controlling the midfield. I wouldn't say either of
Yeah.
them were particularly adept at that.
I'd say
Tielemans,
Tielemans.
maybe.
Tielemans, you could probably
Yeah,
level that at him.
yeah,
I think if you had a midfield three, for example, on a just not saying that this would be our starting midfield every game, but a midfield three of Tielemans, Sergi Roberto, and Onana would be very, very, very functional. Great
oh yeah,
passing,
absolutely. No, I
lots of
mean,
tackling ability,
with Sergio
aerial
Roberto,
ability as well.
definitely.
Because Sergi Roberto is good in the air as well, which is something that
Yeah,
people don't really recognise him for.
yeah. No, I think great signing, definitely. I haven't even seen the links.
You've not seen the links? Oh.
Nope.
Yeah, no,
So
it
it's
was
kind of
rumoured
free,
for a
like are
good
they
couple of days. To be fair, it's one of those where it's kind of a flash in the pan rumour. It comes up. There's rumours. Oh, they could be interested. Could be interested. Oh, they're close to signing him. Close to signing him. It comes up for 2 or 3 days, and then all of a sudden it vanishes again, and you're kind of like,
on?
so was that ever even a thing, or was that just media rambling? Um, so that one could be just complete nonsense, complete waste of the
Yeah,
last
I'm
10 minutes.
surprised
But
that we're in for another midfielder. To be fair,
well, I think more the appeal with him is he could play. He would be very versatile, and he could play right back
mm.
because he's played a
Yeah, I
lot
mean
of games
that's
at
what I
right back
mean
for
about his
Barcelona.
his like his experience at the top level and his intelligence and stuff like that. Is that if we were going to sign another midfielder, I can't really think of many things that midfield lacks, but like maybe top level experience we do a little bit, and like intelligence maybe we lack a little bit. So I think that would make sense. But I would be surprised if we signed another midfielder.
Yeah,
Like you
I
say, on
think
a free
he'd
player who can play.
also like this is a very small factor in why we would sign someone, but he could also play this kind of secondary captain role where he's really really good at translating what Unai wants and controlling and managing all the Spanish speaking players, especially the younger ones, and bringing them together and saying, look, I'm the senior guy here, and he can speak to them in their language. He can really lay it down and say, look, this is what we're going to do, and essentially bring it
Mm.
all together, control them, create some unison, and work together
Yeah,
with McGinn to really make some sort of leadership group with
yeah.
Emi Martinez as well.
Managers do consider this,
Mm.
when they make signings. Obviously, you don't know to what extent, but I feel like it's maybe underplayed the extent to which managers consider the dynamics of a group. Like it's one of those things that's only really obvious off the pitch. Um, but if you've got a group which is a bit disjointed and there's like it's a bit fragmented and there's some players that you can't communicate with properly and stuff like that, I feel like it's probably quite a big consideration. Like if you're clearly lacking a bit of leadership, I feel like managers probably do make signings on that basis.
Yeah, because
Um,
if you think about the things that John McGinn has said in terms of the way the structure is and how players communicate with Unai, it's all through John McGinn, right? So if you've
Yeah,
got Spanish players coming up to John McGinn and they can't quite articulate what they want to say, right, then it's a bit like then he goes into Unai with his thick Scottish accent, and by the time it's got from one mouth to Unai's ear, it's gone from can we have more drinks at half time to can we go out for a drink on the weekend, right? So it may
yeah, it's like,
it's an exaggeration, but you know what I mean. So if
yeah,
Sergi Roberto's there as that kind of secondary, okay, any Spanish players who can't speak English very well and you want to say something to Unai, you come to me and I'll talk to you.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. No, it's important. It's important.
yeah,
Yeah, that would be a great sign if it was on a free. So is he out of contract?
yeah, I'm pretty sure he's been released.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, well,
Or
yeah,
well, maybe they'll re-sign him, but it doesn't look like it for financial reasons.
no.
Yeah. So the only other player that we were linked to that I wanted to cover, we're only sort of loosely linked with the guy, nothing super concrete, is Morten Frendrup out of Genoa,
Yeah, I
Danish
did see that.
midfielder. He's just all out defence. His defensive numbers were up there with João Palhinha's in terms of like totals, in terms of
Yeah, I
tackles,
looked at it. He's in
interceptions,
like the
blocks.
top percentage for tackles, and then I clicked on the figure, and he's already in the top percentage, and João Paulinho is like more than a tackle a game above him. Shows how mad João Paulinho's tackling numbers are.
Yeah, and I think
But
he
yeah,
is literally in that like top three maybe total tackles and interceptions in that
yeah,
position,
he's like a defensive midfielder, isn't he?
pretty much.
All out
But
defensive player.
yeah, all out defense. But what is really interesting about him is unlike a Kamara, for example, who plays in that position, or a Rodri. Well, actually, Rodri's a unique example. Let's not talk about Rodri because that kind of skews it. But let's just stick to Kamara, for example. Kamara is all about playing the safe pass, keeping the possession, providing structure, providing an outlet for the defence for other midfielders, right? He's not going to progress the ball up the pitch that much. He's not going to make loads of risky passes. He's purely there as a structured player, as someone who's going to win the ball back and provide an outlet. Now, Frendrup is a little bit different in the fact that his passing style is way riskier. Like he got, I think, 5 assists in the league last year, and you could tell from his passing accuracy, the players in that position, he's way down there. Like not even in like the top 50th percentile, I don't think, because he loves to just get the ball, win the ball back, find a little pocket of space, and launch one into the flanks and try and play players in behind. So perhaps Frendrup's someone we might see better suited to a game, say against City or an Arsenal, and he can sit in that pocket alongside a Kamara, alongside an Onana, and the aim of the game is, of course, he can win the ball back a crap ton as we've seen over in Syria. He can do that alongside someone else who's great at that as well. When we're playing a team that's essentially trying to keep us in our own box, but then as soon as we do get that ball back, he's the kind of player who's going to instantly look up and he's going to look for those wingers. He's going to look for Ollie Watkins in behind. And that's going to be something that's particularly valuable because really the only players we saw doing that frequently was maybe McGinn and Torres. So to have someone
Yeah,
in the deeper area of midfield who is going to do that. Luis would do it occasionally, but he really his confidence waned a little bit towards the end of the year, and he
yeah.
didn't
Luis
want
and
to play
Kamara
those
did
balls
used to
over the
play the
top.
odd long pass, but not really a feature of their game. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Um, so you think we're looking for something very specific for sort of certain situations?
I mean, I don't necessarily know if that's exactly what we're seeing there. If we are actually interested in this guy, of course we're linked with him. That I mean, there's a huge gap between link with someone and actually wanting to sign them.
Yeah,
So yeah, this very loose connection, but that's just where I would see a specific scenario where he would offer something that perhaps you might not get out of a Tielemans or a Barkley, might not even get out of an Onana, that he can essentially be extremely good at winning the ball, be extremely disciplined, but then once he does have it, is willing to take a risk and willing to try and catch teams on the break rather than sort of being wedded to the idea that we need to keep the ball and play this short passing possession football all the
Yeah,
time, because we know
yeah,
Unai likes to be flexible in his tactics. We know he likes to be a bit more pragmatic in certain games. So it could be something that he's thinking about.
yeah, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, we don't have someone like you say. We don't have a midfielder who kind of instinctually wants to play the ball long. And I think, yeah, I don't know whether that's Unai's approach with the transfer window, but like he does seem to, he's very methodical about it, and it's like this is something we need in a player in certain situations. And yeah, and we don't have a player like that. And yeah, I mean Calvin Phillips.
Oh, I'm over him. I'm over him already. Don't
No, what I'm
no.
saying is like that was his kind of the attribute he's known for was his long passes. So maybe there's a you know the reason we're getting linked to his
Correlation
players.
and type. Yeah, I see
Yeah,
what you mean. I
yeah,
see what you mean. Okay.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
It would be a bit mad to sign a player on that specific of a basis, though, don't you think?
Yeah, I think yeah, it would be quite unusual, especially given how many players we've signed, and there's not too many players that we've got now that look like they're on the way out. Um, we
Yeah,
have
should we talk
seen
about some outs?
three more. Yeah, so we saw three clubs uh, linked to Alex Moreno. I think it was two of the classic Spanish sort of European sides in Villarreal and Valencia, and I think the other one was Sevilla. So it's that classic little trio that are always in and around Europe, but kind of go up and down a bit. So Alex Moreno could be on the way out. I think we've already discussed this. We'd rather see Dean go for the financial side of it. Um, so either way, we just need at least one player out. It's just unsustainable having as many left backs as we do. We've seen Ben Cresceni leave, 1.5 million after Norwich City. I don't know if there's any buyback clause or first refusal, but as we've seen with other players that like Philogene, some of these things don't come out until you actually go and activate the clause. So we'll have to see about that one. We'll have to see how he progresses. Talent that came into the team looked like it could be something decent for the future, but it's just never really progressed
Yeah,
on any of
I don't
his
know whether he's
loans.
ever been close enough for us to see him realistically as a buyback option, but you never know.
Yeah. You never know. Yeah, first refusal is still like that. That's a very easy thing to insert into a contract because it doesn't really
Yeah,
make a difference to the selling team if that's in there or not. It
yeah,
just gives
true.
you as the buying team, but it just gives you as the selling team that opportunity should that player become what maybe you always wished he was. It gives you that opportunity to get in there first. So maybe it will be, but there you go. In terms of other outs, we've not really heard anything on Carlos. Cash has gone
No,
quiet. Midfield
funny because
wise,
we
Dendonker's
they were
quiet.
players who like we were thinking could be potential outs, but to be fair, I don't know whether it was ever actually based on anything.
Yeah,
Maybe that was just fans speculating, but like I don't know if there's ever been any concrete rumours of Carlos or Cash leaving. So maybe we're just perfectly happy to hold on to those players, which I think we'd all be quite happy with. To be fair,
yeah.
yeah, it's
I
been a bit
think
quiet on the outs. Cresceni's the only sort of solid thing that's happened.
yeah.
Um,
What do you think of Feeney's involvement so far?
yeah, I haven't seen that much of pre-season. I've just seen clips where I can find him, but he's obviously played a fair bit. Konza's not been about though, which changes things a little bit. I don't know. Has he been playing well?
For me, not really. He's had some good moments against Walsall. I think against Spartak Tivana, he looks all right. But I mean, there's obviously the caveat that, of course, it's pre-season, and of course, Columbus Crew are in the middle of their actual season, so they're going to be way sharper. But he
Yeah,
just got torn apart by Cucho Hernandez, and I was like, I looked at it and just thought he needs a loan. Like he needs a year starting in a league with fast, physical players to get used to how to handle
yeah.
that.
I
Because
mean, he's
where he's been
19.
so
So,
far, yeah, he's it's only Real Union he's actually been on loan at, right? So
yeah, and he played like a few games.
Yeah, he's not really had the chance to be tested against serious
Yeah,
athletes and men, realistically.
it's very rare at that age for a centre back to break through unless they're physically a specimen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like that is a position that demands physicality. Obviously, some players are just not fully physically developed at that age, and Feeney kind of looks to be one of them, doesn't he? Like he's always been one that people have talked about as one of the top prospects, and like he's been in the preseason squads and whatever. But yeah, he just like from what I've seen doesn't seem physically capable at the moment.
yeah. I
That's
think
fine.
League
Experience
One
for
loan maybe, probably the
yeah.
best.
Him at Shrewsbury
Um,
Town, Tommy
yeah,
O'Reilly.
yeah, absolutely. Why not? They stayed together at Real Union. Why not Shrewsbury
Tommy
Town?
O'Reilly scored in the Shrewsbury Town friendly the other day.
Oh yeah, was it good?
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't see it. I just saw his
Oh,
name on the team
but
sheet.
I need to watch that highlight then.
Yeah,
Um,
was it a loan Tommy O'Reilly, or did he has he gone there
oh
permanently?
yeah, it'll be a loan. I'm pretty sure it's a loan. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't think they could afford him, to be honest. I think
true.
we'd probably charge a couple mil for him because we know how
Yeah,
much talent he's got.
yeah,
Yeah. So I wanted to float another couple players past you that I've seen rumours about. One we've been linked with before, Pavlovic. As we've kind of said
yeah,
before, is on the ball ability in terms of possession. Maybe not so much passing, like his passing probably decent, but in terms of his ability to carry the ball, he's up there with some of the best defenders in the kind of rest of Europe outside that top five European leagues. He's I think 22, if I remember correctly, 6'4" and a half. Played very well in the Euros. Like if we're not confident in what Mings is going to be able to do coming back, that is essentially a like for like replacement in terms of stature, in terms of what he offers defensively, with so much more on the ball ability and a completely
yeah.
different age profile, of course.
Yeah, that would be a really good signing. Obviously, Mings isn't in the pre-season squad, is he? Which is a bit disappointing. But yeah, his numbers are. I mean, successful take-ons is like the Pau Torres stat, isn't it? And he's got really good numbers for successful take-ons. Yeah, good defensive. I mean, he's like huge, isn't he?
Yeah,
He like
pretty much
6'4".
6'5".
Yeah, left-footed. Yeah, would be a really good signing. There was who was the player who we talked about on a recent episode, and then he went to Bournemouth. What was his
Huyson,
name?
Dean Huyson.
Yeah, that
That
kind
was
of.
disappointing.
It was the day after we'd like bigged him up on the podcast that he just went to
Yeah,
Bournemouth.
I can't believe he went to
Um,
Bournemouth, man.
I mean, I think that's a good move for him. To be fair, because Bournemouth play good football, don't they? Like for a ball-playing centre back, I think that's a good club to go to. But he did kind of look like, yeah, for his price, would have been a really cool signing for us to make. But oh well, oh
Yeah.
well.
The other player I want to touch on, who I think would be absolutely perfect in terms of playing backup right back, filling in at centre back, and if we did sell a left back, could even fill in there, is Takahiro Tomiyasu. He's been linked away, and quite importantly, now Jurien Timber's coming back. He's probably third choice right back. Now they've bought Calafiori, he's probably third choice left back if he were to play there,
Yeah,
and he'd be third choice left centre back,
yeah,
if not
yeah.
fourth, if
I like
Kivior's
Tomiyasu a
still
lot.
there.
Yeah, I was quite excited when Arsenal signed him just to like watch him play. Um, he's had injury problems, hasn't he? That would be the problem with Tomiyasu, but could be a smart signing because he wouldn't be expensive, would he?
No, he'd be a squad
Um,
player,
yeah,
extremely sort of ambidextrous in terms of his feet, very two-footed, a
yeah,
lot
good on the
better on the
ball,
ball
real
than people think.
versatile.
Like,
He would be a really good signing in terms of the
mm,
profile and the money involved and stuff like that. And yeah, like you say, good with both feet, which I think Emery values. Good on the ball, yeah, like you say. I think,
very good on the ball for
yeah,
what you
I
expect
don't
as a
know.
guy that big as well, because he's great in the air, great
Yeah, I
defender.
don't know what the perception of him is like, but I've always been impressed with his on the ball ability when I've watched him play, and he is so versatile, isn't he? Like he can play as a wing back,
Yeah.
quite
Or a centre back.
effectively, or a centre back, yeah, and in literally any position in the defence. So yeah, that would be a cool one. I'd be excited for that, but I would be worried about the injury thing because in terms of his talent. the only reason it's not really happened for him at Arsenal is because of his injuries. I think if he had have not had injury problems and cemented his place in the Arsenal team properly, I think he's talented enough to be in that team.
Yeah,
But he's had really bad injury problems, which, you know, wouldn't be a huge issue for us maybe if it was cheap signing and he wouldn't be expected to play all that much anyway. But at the same time, if you sign him and he comes on as a sub and then he gets injured for half a season, it'd just be a bit pointless, wouldn't it?
yeah, but there you go. It would free us up to maybe move on Cash, and it would be a slightly different profile. Not that I want to move on Cash, but if that is the plan,
Yeah, I think Tomiyasu
it
would actually
facilitates
be an
that.
upgrade, like in terms of the talent of the player and the what he offers with his versatility and his physicality. I think Tomiyasu would be a good upgrade on Cash, and with the money as well, we'd probably make a profit on that. So it would kind of free us up in that sense. But the injury thing would be a worry. But then that's what you have a medical team for, isn't it, to assess that situation?
Exactly. Yeah. So I think we're just about ready to wrap up, unless
Yeah, I don't have anyone else. I don't think we've missed anyone in terms of recent rumours. It has been a little bit quiet.
really.
It's been dominated by the Felix and the Duran thing, hasn't it? What about last words on the new kit? Because I don't think we mentioned it.
Yeah. I think it's a good 8.5 out of 10. Just design wise. I think in terms of having the AV50 on the back, I really like that. Um, the fact that the sponsorship isn't crazy different color like it was last year is a bit
Yeah,
better. Um,
yeah,
overall, it's just improved. I think Adidas they've not smashed it. They clearly haven't gone. Let's give Villa like the best kit they've ever had. They've gone. Let's give them a very good functional kit. First year in, we haven't got the
yeah,
whole year
yeah.
to
They've gone safe.
actually get this design done. Let's just start off with a good relationship. Make sure it's a solid kit, and the fans can enjoy it, and the people will want to buy it. Yet we're still not seeing the away kit and the third kit. Those could come out potentially, final few days before the start of the season. Those could be something special. They might be a little more adventurous with those.
Yeah, that's what I'm
But
hoping for. I think the home
mm,
kit is very solid. It's a nice kit. It's safe. I like the material that Adidas kits seem to be made out of. There's like a bit of it's like almost like a tea towel or something. That looks nice. Yeah, it's a clean kit. It's a good kit. It's a nice kit. I am hoping for something a bit wacky on the third kit or the away kit. Not wacky, but like just interesting because it is they've been bigging up the 150th year thing, haven't they?
yeah, it's got to be
So
something.
hopefully we get something cool in the third of the away kit. But yeah, home kit very clean.
But
Gonna
apparently the
buy it?
club shop is going to be mental.
Yeah, well it's already sold out the kit, hasn't it? Like there was queues for the new club shop. Which did the new club shop open or is it temporary till
No,
then?
it was like a temporary
Yeah,
sort of
yeah,
situation. Yeah,
yeah.
but
Uh,
being in
yeah.
London, didn't get down there myself. You've got less of an excuse, Mister
I'm not going to
Arroway.
go and queue. I'm not going to pay 30 quid for a train to queue for hours for an £80 kit. I'm afraid.
Yeah,
Maybe if I
we'll
was,
get there. Give us 10 years, and we'll be buying kits
yeah,
every year.
buying all the kits. Yeah, we'll be like those
Should
cool
should we
podcasters with
pre-book Champions League final tickets on the off chance?
kits. If you loan me the money,
No,
how much do you think it'd be?
I don't know. Probably if you booked them as early as you possibly could, I feel like you wouldn't pay more than 150 quid.
Oh yeah, I could scrape that together. The flights and the fucking hotels and the beer might be the bigger issue.
Well,
But
where
yeah,
would it be? You know where it is?
I don't have a clue.
Yeah.
Should find out.
We'll find that out. We could do a Champions League preview episode before our first game of the
Oh
Champions
yeah,
League.
got to. I mean, I don't know
And
when the draw is. We can do that before the draw, but that'll be an exciting one, won't it?
yeah, absolutely.
That'll be a good
So
one.
yeah, no, let's leave it there. You've really lost lighting now. Did you just turn something off?
Uh,
Oh, you come back a little bit.
no, but it is getting dark.
Yeah, I whenever we do episodes in the evening, you always turn into a fuzzy mess by the end.
I know, and I'm
Um,
always bright white at the start as well. It's
but
probably
yeah,
an issue.
we'll improve on that. Like, subscribe, comment. and you'll get us closer to improving Matt's lighting and a mic situation even quicker. So
This is what people are engaged for. Is like my face, isn't it?
yeah,
To be
pretty
fair.
much. That's what it is. So yeah, well, I've said all the good stuff. Really, it's now just a case of saying goodbye. So yeah, Matt, I'll leave that to you.
Thanks for watching, and see you next time for some football bollocks. Goodbye.